Welcome to the Coop Tank. I'm your host, Steve Cooper, coming to you from SuiteRecording in beautiful Mount Laurel, New Jersey. You know, people, if you have a video cast, a podcast, an audio book, if you need some promotional shots done, hell, even if you need a studio built, SuiteRecording is the place for you. Joe Gangemi, not only a great guy, but he knows his stuff and he's honest and he'll give you a deal. So check them out on their website, SuiteRecording, SUIT recording.com, or email them at hello@suiterecording.com. Anyway, once again, we have a great show today, and we have an all-female panel, and I bring in all-female panels every once in a while as an homage to my mom. Okay, my mom, Rosemary Cooper, she's 90 now, but she came from, her parents were immigrants through Ellis Island from Austria and Yugoslavia, and they ended up in Tacony in Philadelphia, Northeast Philadelphia. And for some reason, she had this idea she wanted to go into marketing. So she graduated Temple University in 1952 with a degree in marketing, and she was the only woman in any of those classes. In fact, when she was a senior, she had an offer for a job she took eventually with Campbell's Soup. So I just grew up with a very strong female presence in the business world. And to me, I don't look at them as business women. I look at them as business people. But I like bringing them together because they've seen a lot of stuff. They're all successful. They all have wisdom. And our guest today is Melissa Goldstein from One Part Social. How you doing, Melissa?
Great. Thanks for having me.
We have Lisa Morina from the Cooper Foundation.
How you doing, Steve? Good to see you.
Good. And Eileen Kevany from Hilburn. How you doing, Eileen?
Steve, thank you for having me.
So I want to go around. I want you to tell me about what you do, you know, what makes you different. And we're going to start with you, Melissa Goldstein.
Oh, lucky me. I get to go first. So we are One Part Social is a social media management company, and we do social media management from start to finish, the strategy, the execution. We also do content marketing, which are, basically blogs, case studies. We write website copy, and we really also do email marketing as well. And we really focus on that thought leadership content, showing our clients in a different light and sharing their expertise.
Okay, how about you, Lisa Morina? And I gotta love someone with the Cooper Foundation, because my last name being Cooper, whenever I go by the sign, I go, oh, right. But tell us about the Cooper Foundation.
The Cooper Foundation is the philanthropic arm for Cooper University Healthcare. And so my role as the VP of Advancement is to work with all those community members who are interested in supporting Cooper. So it might be grateful patients, it may be individual donors or corporations. It could be doctors who are looking to give back to the organization, and then tying that back to our programs and services and our work in the community. And so it's a pretty cool place to be, to help, our patients and the families and the people in this community.
Okay, and how about you, Eileen?
So I am an independent men's stylist for the J. Hilburn. So what I do is help busy men create a wardrobe that is easy for them to wear. It fits them great because it's custom made for them, and it makes their day easy dressing in a comfortable, affordable, convenient way.
Okay. I want to start off with, the times have changed. It used to be a lot of our parents would work for the same job for years. Okay. And it's changed now. People are constantly changing, and people recreate themselves. And especially after the pandemic and before, that helped it. But I want to ask you, we'll start with you again, Melissa, and then we'll change it up so you don't feel the pressure. How did you get into the position you are now? What led you to being in One Part Social? What was the path you took?
So for me, I was in business development and marketing for a company, a large leadership development company, probably, 7 years ago, 8 years ago. And a good friend of mine who was a really savvy business leader came to me and said, can you just do my social media? She knew I was doing it, for this leadership development company. And I said, oh, I can't really take it on. I said, but I'll teach you how to do it. We'll take some time. She's like, I don't want to learn. I don't have time to learn. I just want you to do it. And that's how my business really started. I started doing her social media marketing and some other marketing for her. And she referred me. I started to pick up more and more clients. And finally, the role I was in, I brought them along. So I was still able to continue to do their marketing for them, but, under my own umbrella. So that's how it started.
How about you, Eileen? How did you get into J. Hilburn?
I was in the image consulting business for women. And I happened to sit across the table from Lisa Torba, who was with J. Hilburn, Custom Men's Clothing. And she asked me if I ever considered adding a component of helping men. And I did not. I had never thought about it. However, gave it some thought, asked her a lot of questions, did some investigating about J. Hilburn, and the turning point that actually made me become a J. Hilburn stylist. And Steve, you know this because we have met in person. I like to call myself 5'12". I have always had challenges getting clothing that fits me. So when I was thinking and talking to Lisa, I realized that men have maybe even more challenges than women because they don't have the same number of options, but they don't have the same amount of square footage even as options in a department store. And I really thought that my challenges could be transferred to helping men dress well and looking great at the same time.
How about you, Lisa?
So I arrived at the Cooper Foundation through just a series of varying jobs throughout my career. I started out in a consulting company that did work in the chemical process industry, which is very, male dominated. I worked there for about a decade, and then once I became a mom, I couldn't do that travel anymore. And we get that crossroad where we have to figure out what's really important. So I ended up leaving an organization that I really loved and took a job in the community college sector. And I started to work almost in the same kind of consulting capacity. I worked for both the former Gloucester County College and Cumberland County College, which they're now merged, and worked with business development, helping companies do customized training classes for their employees. And from there, I moved into county government, where I worked as the Director of Economic Development for Gloucester County for a decade. And I did same kind of consulting type of thing, companies looking to come into the county, things like workforce development and some federal grants. And serendipitously had a conversation with Joe Devine, who I didn't know was about to become the CEO of Kennedy Health System, and just kind of said, like, I'm kind of bored, like maybe I need to do something else. And he pulled me into healthcare, which I had no background in. But I went into the healthcare sector. I worked for Kennedy, now Jefferson, for about 10 years as well. I think that's my shelf life at a company. And worked there doing a lot of different things, ran marketing, government affairs, and worked on a bunch of different projects with him, including the merger with Jefferson. And, as the organization changed at Jefferson, it was time for me to make a change. And I just had this fabulous opportunity to join the Cooper Foundation. And Cooper's growing so much. I've always wanted to be at a place that's going to stretch me. And I think that this is an opportunity that does that. And so I guess I did those stalwart jobs, eds and meds, throughout my career. But it's always been about the relationship building and finding ways to improve the organization. So I feel like I'm in a good spot.
That's good. It's always good to be happy what you do. And, we always say, if you love what you're doing, if it doesn't feel like work, well, I can't get paid to like be on the beach and drink beer. So I don't always believe that. But what motivates you to get up and go to work every day? We'll start with you. Eileen. What motivates you to go to work? Because a lot of us, you wake up like today, it's a crappy day out. You don't want to do anything. I'm like, I swear to God, every time I record this show, it rains outside. But what motivates you in the morning, Eileen, to get up and do your work?
I know that it's sort of a cliche kind of statement, but I like helping my clients. I find that it's very relationship based, as it should be. And knowing that I can make a huge difference in how they dress, which transforms how they feel about themselves and ups their confidence, as well as then helps them have a more simple life, thinking about what they need to wear every day, and it makes them feel like they are better at what they do because they feel confident and they know that they look great. I find that very rewarding. And that's what helps me get up every day.
How about you, Lisa?
So, as you grow and mature, get a little older, you realize things that are important and things that aren't. And having financial stability is important, but having your health is even more important. So for me to be able to try to figure out ways that we can help those in the community whose health is not as good as it should be, it's a real motivator, because there's a lot of people that have a lot of need from all kinds of walks of life. And just to be able to help connect that is it's super important, because you can't buy your health, right? You can't buy good health.
Oh, I know. Believe me, I've had some health problems, but I'm better now.
Right.
Believe me, you're right. You can't. I always tell people that it's very important to just not worry about all the bullshit and just sit there and focus on what's really important. How about you, Melissa? What keeps you, what motivates you when you get up to go to work?
I think the support that we offer our clients, not only the clients that I have through One Part Social, but I'm also a consultant with the SBDC, and we support a lot of business owners who really have nowhere else to go. They're starting their new businesses. They have no idea, how to do their accounting, their marketing. So as part of the consulting team there, it's great, because almost every time our calls are finished, they're always amazed at how much they've learned and how much they didn't know about marketing or any topic that we're training on. So they really feel supported, and they can always call me, they can always email me, and I will always respond to them with, any questions in regard to marketing. So I think the support is really what motivates me.
Well, I mentioned in the beginning my mom and how I grew up in that situation. I love having all women business panel, and I have to ask you, because I know it's 2023, but I still think sometimes the world can be somewhat archaic in the business world. I think there's still that guy mentality, and I just see that just from being, and when I was in entertainment, I knew how a guy who's 75 can play a 55-year-old, but a girl who's 38 will play a 65-year-old. I think there's that still goes on. I want to ask each of you, and be completely honest, through your professional journey, how has the business climate towards women changed, and has it changed that much? Because I don't know, because I'm a male, I don't see it from your eyes. But we're going to start with you, Melissa. How has the climate changed for you, being a woman in the business world? And you've been working for a while, and you've seen different times, but how has it changed, and has it?
I think the opportunities are there. There's a lot more opportunity for women in business. We can start our own businesses. We can be CEOs. We can, manage our home life as well as a business, especially when it comes to, the flexibility we have. A lot of times we can really write our own tickets. We can, work when we want, as long as we're getting our job done, we can leave. And if we need to, take our kids to school or pick them up or see their play or their sports, that didn't used to be the case. It was more frowned upon when I was first in business, that if you were leaving, why are you leaving? So I think that part has changed a lot, is the flexibility, and, that we are recognized for, more than just business owners, but we have other parts of our lives too that are important.
How about you, Lisa?
So this is like a personal hot button for me, Steve. So I'm happy that you asked this question, because I work with a lot of young women, not just in the job, but outside of the job too. And I feel like it's my personal responsibility to help mentor them. When I first started out and I was young in my career, basically you had to suck it up if some man said something inappropriate to you, because you had no outlet, and you were just supposed to laugh it off. And I feel that young women today have a voice, and they're allowed to voice it. And it's a huge change. My big concern is that there's a tide in this country that wants to take some of that away. And women need to just use their voice and say, we like how it is. And Melissa talked about, the ability to leave and take care of your children. Yes, we should do that. We should allow that. We should allow fathers to be there too. But that can go away in a vote. And so we have to be aware of that. And the fact that we've learned so much and grown so much as individuals and as women in the workforce, we have to be supportive of each other, and we have to talk about things that we see. I don't want my nieces or my girlfriend's grandchildren to go through some of the things that I had to put up with when I was younger in my career, mainly because I worked in a couple of very male-dominated industries where it was tolerated. So I feel like we've come a long way, but we have a long, long way to go.
How about you, Eileen?
I have to agree with both of the other panelists here in regards to the opportunities that women have. I used to work for a large corporation at one point in my career, and it was not the best. It was not pro-women at all. And there were opportunities, unfortunately, where myself and other women in my age category were being hit on by those that were men, were older, were established in their careers a little bit more, and there was no voice for us to have. And when I think back now on that, I think that nobody would have listened to me and nobody would have cared. So I think that nowadays there's a lot more opportunity for everyone to be listening to the concerns that women have. I have two daughters that are both in their 30s, and they both have very different kinds of jobs, but both of them have made the workplace that they're in very approachable for them as, mentors to other women, to other employees, not just women. And I hope that that continues because, it's important that we all have our voices heard no matter what it is. And let's not take a step back. Let's continue to move forward in all of these regards so that, everyone gets their voice, everyone gets heard, and there's a better workplace for everyone. I think the ultimate situation for me was to leave a corporate job and become a sole entrepreneur. I was divorced. It was not a situation where I had a lot of parental help, so that I relied on mainly other women to help me that had children that were feeling some of the same things that I did. And that was the best move that I ever made, ever in my life.
I want to follow up on that question. I was thinking about this as you all were talking. Someone young comes up to you, a young woman in the business world who's getting harassed. And I'm sorry, it still happens. I always call it the creepy old guy syndrome. I call it the creepy old white guy syndrome. Luckily, I'm married with a very pretty wife, so people know I'm harmless. I'm not out at an event. I'm not out at business trying to pick up because I don't need that crap. But what advice would you give someone if someone came to you in confidence, and it doesn't someone a coworker, but what advice in this day and age, what steps can they take to sit there and combat it? Because to me, and I don't just say this, because it's an all women panel, that shit disgusts me. I hate creeps. It pisses me off because I've seen it when I worked in the restaurant business. Floor manager, I was in marketing. Floor managers are always like massaging girls on the floor. I'm like, dude, I'm marketing. You can't do that. That looks creepy. And customers are like, what kind of restaurant is this? But what advice would you give a woman who came up to you and said, someone's really giving me a hard time at work. I don't know what to do. What would you tell them, Eileen? Because you have daughters. What would you tell if your daughter came up to you when she was like 21 or 22 starting out? How would you tell her to handle that?
First of all, I would ask her a number of questions in regards to the entire scenario. So I had a better understanding of exactly what had happened. And the next thing that I would do was to see what kind of HR was in place. Like what kind of relationship did she have with her, her supervisor, her boss, what HR pieces were in place? Because I know that in, the instance that happened to me, this happened to me and I was hit on my second day at work with a brand new company. And I was 22. It was my first real job coming out of college. It was awful. I had nobody. The only person I knew was the person that had interviewed me, who I didn't really know. So I would ask a lot of questions, find out about HR, find out about what hopefully my daughters would know from their interview process, what the culture of the company was like, so that they knew who they could talk to, first of all, in confidence, and then to kind of explore what the next step would be and whether or not they ultimately wanted to stay in that company and what their next step might be to, bring this the situation to light so that others knew about it and it didn't continue.
How about you, Melissa?
Yeah, much like Eileen said, I do think it depends on what exactly the situation was, but and find out about how they handle it. My feeling is it's a great indication, right off the bat on how they handle situations like this and what the culture is. So report it if you have to, and if it doesn't go well after that, then you leave, because you never want to be in a position long term under those circumstances, because if they're not going to do anything about it once, then the writing's on the wall. And it's not an environment that I would want my daughter in at all. So I would tell her to leave.
How about you, Lisa?
Yeah, no, I agree with both of you that I would say to them, if they're doing it to you, they've done it to somebody else. So the first thing is you have to be very clear in your communication about what is acceptable and what's not acceptable, and make sure that you document it. I mean, if you're in a job that's like your dream job, you don't want to walk away from that if it's an individual and not the culture. So I would make sure that definitely you're very clear in your communication about what is acceptable and what's not, and just shut that down. Also, I feel that women also have a responsibility to make sure that they're handling themselves in an appropriate manner. And by that, I mean, when I talk with young women, I'll say, make sure that if there is someone like, Steve, we're talking about like a networking event, a chamber event, something like that. If you're having conversations with someone and they're very benign, there's also an optic if you leave at the same time. If you're not careful about your body language, if you are not handling yourself appropriately with alcohol, all of these things come into play from an image perspective. And while I think that we all should be open and be free to do what we want to do, you also have to make sure that your behavior is not encouraging and not also having other people think that it's okay to approach you in that way. So it's kind of a fine line. Like, it's like you don't want to be, bitchy, but you also need to make sure that you have that ability to say no if there is a line that's crossed. I think there's a dual responsibility, but if you are harassed in the workplace, you just have to be very clear and say no, and you need to elevate that. Chances are you're not the only person that's been in that position with that individual.
Okay, see, they're all good answers. That's why I like having the women on. I can't ask guys this. I'm like, oh, I'll hit on someone. What fears do you have when it comes to your day-to-day business life? Fears that, because we all sit there and there's some people, when you start out on your own, you'll wake up in the middle of the night, holy shit, am I going to have to go into my savings? Am I going to do this? Because it's fears, and we all deal with them. And people don't like to talk about being scared. It's just something that no one does. But what are some fears that you encounter in your weekly or monthly business life and about your job? We'll start with you, Melissa, because you've been on your own for a while. So what are some fears that you still deal with that you wake up in the middle? And that's the worst, when you wake up and you're like, your heart's racing and you go, oh God, give me some fears that you may deal with at times, Melissa.
Yes, I have a few. One is I hate to make mistakes. And I know it's part of life, but I still hate it. And when I do, it stays with me for a few days. It's not something I can shake it off. And the other fear I have, and it's totally ridiculous when you think about it, is that I'm going to wake up and have no clients tomorrow. Like, they're all going to cancel, and again, it's ridiculous when you really, I've done some research on this. When you really think about the worst scenario, is that really practical? Is it really going to happen? And that kind of makes it a little bit better.
How about you, Lisa? What are some fears you have?
So also making a mistake, right? One of my fears is with complex problems or strategizing, what am I missing? That keeps me up at night. But it also helps me solve problems sometimes, because I'll wake up in the middle of the night with, like an aha moment or an idea. But that is a fear, is that I don't have the right information, or I'm not asking the right questions to get the right information and decision making based on what I know. and then I've missed something that's really obvious.
How about you, Eileen?
So in my world, custom clothing, it's a very personal thing. It goes along with, it's both fit and feel, how the fabric feels on you and then how it fits you. And to each man that I deal with, it's individual to him, depending on what he's purchasing and the fabric that he's buying. Probably my biggest fear is that I'm not interpreting what he has shared with me into what he wants and so I'm listening to him enough that I'm getting what he wants, not what I think that he should be wearing. In our world, custom clothing is a process. We work really, really hard to get the right fit every time and with every garment, but sometimes it doesn't come out the right way, or the client realizes that he wants something a little different than what you originally talked about. I think that J. Hilburn has a really great policy in place so that some of those fears that I have can be alleviated. We can either remake it or we can bring it to a tailor. But, at the same time, you want everything to be great the first time out, especially when they're very excited about this great opportunity, when they're just experiencing custom clothing for the first time. You want it to be absolutely, problem-free. 99% of the time, that is the way that it goes, but it's always that like niggling thought, what if it's not the way he wanted it? So
Now, when you all were starting your careers, okay, success-wise, what did you think was successful? Like, what did you want? And now has that changed? Like for me, when I got out of college, I got into stand-up comedy and I wanted to be a star. And now, I'm happy being at home, being a curmudgeon and hanging out with my wife. I consider that successful in introducing people, things like that. So my success has changed, what I wanted. And looking back, I'm glad I didn't become a star because I wouldn't know any of you and I'd probably be a complete mess. But what to you, when you first started in the business world, what was success to you? And now what do you define for yourself what success is? We'll start with you, Lisa.
So when I first started out, success for me was responsibility and autonomy. So I wanted to have a position or a role where I could be creative, feel like I had a little bit of decision-making authority so that I could get my thoughts or my ideas put to task. But as I progressed, it became more and more obvious to me that my vision of success is to get other people to also be creative and also to be thinking. So I have this thing where I kind of like come from 30,000 feet all the time, and I tell the teams that I work with, like sometimes you have to push back on me because I have these, like wackadoo ideas that'll never be accomplished, but this is just like my stream of thought. And so for me, watching others be able to implement their creativity or their ideas or their successes is how I feel successful. Getting that team to be like working as a machine is very fulfilling for me. And so you get to a certain point in your career and you're like, okay, this is where I'm at. I don't have aspirations to be the CEO of anything. I wanted responsibility when I was young, and then there's some days I'm like, I wish I could just like push it back because it gets to be overwhelming. But I think success changes over the years, and for me now, it's really just feeling that sense of team accomplishment. And we just came off of a very big event at Cooper where we raised almost $4 million and had just a really successful evening for our gala, and my team was charged, and that team worked really hard, and that is success to me. That's success.
How about you, Melissa?
So for me, success was starting out. I put myself through college. I worked full time. Success for me was always about being able to support myself. It was so important to me to get out there, get that degree, even if I had to work, 10 jobs and do it. And I did it. And then, continuing that success for me was to be able to do it and still, I took some time off, but get back to it while I raised my family. And that's part of why I went out on my own, because I did want to be able to be there for my kids. And success has changed for me a little bit now that I know that, I can support myself. Now it's more about, having fun and enjoying what I do. And really, using both all of the things that I've learned through the years on the analytics side, as well as being creative. My company really, really allows me to do both.
How about you, Eileen? What was success then and what's success now?
Success in the past was was probably a little bit more numbers driven, having a lot of clients and, making money. And that was probably it. Very short-sighted. What it is now is having clients that are happy and that are content with what the service that I provide for them. And more than anything, they feel that they can come to me for, their wardrobe challenges. And I know that, talking about men's clothing is not an easy thing to do. It's not an easy thing to bring up in a conversation. So the look on a man's face when he has a great outfit on that he just is getting ready to go out for his interview process is very, very rewarding. So I think that more than the money and a number of clients, it's the satisfaction that I see on a man's face when they say to me, oh my gosh, now I know why my clothes, now I know how my clothes should be fitting me. This is awesome. I feel terrific. And when I see that smile on his face, I know that I have done a good job by him. And I've brought all the tools that I have in my little toolbox to help him go out and be successful. And that's a bigger sign of success for me these days.
Okay. Well, it's funny. I met you people all through networking, and it seems like networking is really the focus now. The days of cold calling are done. People are networking. That's the way to do it. What do you like about networking? It's a two-parter. What do you like about networking, and what do you not like about networking? Like for me, one example is I love meeting new people. I love it. I'm believe it or not, I'm sort of an introvert, and I go to an event and I'll introduce, and when I talk to someone I get along with, I'll talk to them, but I don't have time for someone who's just like putting their card on my face. Get away from me. I love that about networking. I hate cliques. I hate cliques because I was never in a clique. I was always like the guy who'd hang out with all the different cliques, and that's just me. What do you like about networking, and what don't you like about networking? And we'll start with you, Eileen, because I run into you in a lot.
Well, believe it or not, I consider myself an introvert. And I know that I have to kind of go through the process of kind of like getting myself ready for a networking event, whether it's a one that I've been to in the past and I know that I will see some people that I know, or even if it's one, especially if it's one that is new to me and I'm kind of going in there by invitation from somebody else. So, preparing myself a little bit of how, my mindset is to go into that event, and then having a goal is really important to me, of like trying to make a couple of really great connections or connecting other people that are there with someone that they should be meeting. So that's the part that's a little bit challenging. The best part of networking is like what you said, meeting new people. Even though I'm an introvert, and at least I consider myself one, I do enjoy meeting new people and what makes them tick and what's the reason for them to get up in the morning, because everyone has an interesting story and I'd love to hear stories.
How about you, Melissa?
Yeah, it's similar to me too. I really love meeting new people and learning about them. Not so much even their business, more about, what their own story is, how they got to where they are, what they're enjoying at the moment, and then eventually get to business. But it's not always all about business for me when I go to them. I don't think that's the best way to genuinely connect with someone. It's really learning more about them as a person. And I don't know what I dislike about it. I think what I didn't love the connecting online. For me, it just wasn't the same. I didn't do a lot of networking events during COVID. It felt more forced for me. So I kind of took a step back.
How about you, Lisa?
Yeah. So I am the extrovert, maybe of the group, although Melissa didn't say. So I do enjoy going to networking events, mainly because I like to talk to people. But similar to Melissa, I do approach new relationships not with what they can give to me, but what it is about them that kind of sparks my interest, and how can we take this to, the next level, take it to coffee, to lunch, and see where there's synergies for the work that we do. And I think that people at some of these events are only just seeking out like a direct, I want to walk out of there with a piece of business. And it doesn't always work that way. For me, the downside of networking, and it's been in just, the different positions that I've held over the years where I've been doing this networking for more years than I care to speak. But when people have an expectation that, you're going to be able to help them despite the role that you have. And I'll give you a great example. So now I'm in the foundation, and that's a totally different role than I had at my previous organization. But I'll have somebody that's in a sales role that'll come to me and like I'm leaving with work for them. They don't want to do the work. They want to give me their card and have me connect them with people inside, even though, it's not inside of my role. It's not anything that I can really help them with. And in large organizations, there's a process. And so if they had said to me, how do I get on the list for an RFP? How do I get to do business with your organization? I'm happy to help. But when the expectation is they give me their card and then I'm going to do their work for them, it's a total turnoff for me. Just a total turnoff.
Well, here's the part of the show I always love, because I love to bitch. I'm cranky, and this is going to be interesting because we're going to start with Melissa when I talk about this, because Melissa is in social media. We're all on LinkedIn, okay? Everyone's on LinkedIn, and I always come up with something that bothers me about LinkedIn, because there's always something, like it was like for me before, it's been like self-proclaimed experts. What bothers me is, what's really been bothering me is when someone puts in their title award-winning. Okay, they don't tell you what award they've won. Okay, I know people who have won Emmys, Oscars, Golden Globes, and they're on my podcast, Cooper Talk. We talk about that, and I will write Emmy award-winning such and such. But when people just put award-winning, it's so vague. It's like, I want a spelling bee in 4th grade. Can I now put award-winning? That's what pisses me off right now about LinkedIn, and I hate that. But what is something that bothers you about LinkedIn? And I want to start with Melissa, because if it bothers her, I'm sure she's going to tell her client, hey, don't put award-winning unless you put, hottest 40 under 40 or whatever it is. But we're going to start with you. What is a buzzword or something on LinkedIn that just pisses you off?
This is easy for me. I can't stand when I make a connection with someone and the first message out of the gate is trying to sell me. That is absolutely not the right way to go about LinkedIn. Do not try and sell me immediately as soon as we connect. I mean, it seems so basic to me, but I guess it isn't, because it happens at least 3 times a week. So, and I'm picky about who I connect with. I don't connect with everyone. So, when you are connected with someone, find some synergy there, talk about, how you can help each other, not immediately sell, or schedule a call to get to know each other, to learn more about what I do so that I can learn more about what you do, but don't just sell to someone right off the bat as soon as you connect.
How about you, Lisa? What pisses you off about LinkedIn? Because I saw you laugh when I talked about award winning, but it always interests me what people think. Because I sit there and I go, "Am I the only skeptic? Am I the only one who sits there and goes, this is bullshit?" I mean, sometimes, and my wife says, "You're too skeptical." I go, "Well, no, it's bullshit." But what pisses you off about LinkedIn, Lisa Morina?
Well, first of all, I'm offended because now I have to remove best mom ever from my I got that award, but no. So what makes me crazy is the migration from a professional. I keep this is my professional, right? This is my professional tool. This is my business tool. My other social media, whenever I use it, is for personal. And that migration in with the Wi-Fi's and just, it's, to me, it's a little overkill. And let me do that. the political content and stop sliding into my LinkedIn messages if you're trying to pick me up. It's a major, major block. And right? They're shaking their heads because they know.
Wait. I want to interrupt. Guys are trying to pick you up on LinkedIn?
Yep.
Am I right?
Get out of here. There's that many creeps.
They're everywhere.
They're everywhere. Exactly. They're everywhere.
But I have to say it works with men too. I mean, they're out there soliciting men as well. Women are doing it too. It's not just guys. So it's on both ends.
Okay. Now how about you, Eileen? What pisses you off about LinkedIn?
It's kind of an expansion of what Melissa said, is that I get a message on LinkedIn, I happen to find your LinkedIn account, and, I'd like to help you with blah, 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 blah. So they've obviously done some cold calling in a way where it's not actually a call, but they have, looked me up by maybe a category and use some kind of filter, and then get in touch with me about how they can help me, with SEO or, financial services, or an abundance of different kinds of opportunities. I've never met them. I've never seen them in person. I sometimes don't even recognize the name of the company. And I find that I'm getting far more of them than I used to.
Well, now I'm upset. I'm upset because no women have tried to hit on me on LinkedIn. So now I'm pissed off. Here's a segment I started a few weeks ago and I always like the answers. Because I personally don't read business books. I don't care. I don't. This is something. But there's great books there. The Go Giver I heard is great. I've heard there's a lot of great books. Do you read business books? And if you do, what's one that you've learned from and you've learned something from? And we'll start with you, Lisa. Do you read business books?
I do, but not as often as I read my beach reads, which are very easy breezy, a little naughty kind of novels, right? So I like that on the beach because I don't have to think. But I do read business books a bit. I went back recently to Atomic Habits, if I can get that out. The number one thing I take from that is finish the task. I say that in my house. I say that at work. When you have a bunch of stuff in your brain that you need to get done and you do everything partially, you don't check anything off the list. And if you don't finish the task, you can't move on to the next goal. So that's the one thing that I really appreciated about that particular book that I try to use in my everyday life. Because we all are juggling so much, get it off the list.
How about you, Melissa?
So I do read business books, and I'm in the middle of one, and forgive me because I'm horrible with remembering names because I'm always reading like 3 different books. So right now I am reading 3 different books. I'm reading another one that my partner gave me on happiness. We're reading it together. And so I can't remember this one, but it's about processes and the importance of processes. It actually is a strength of mine, processes, but this sets it up in a different way, from smaller processes to larger processes. So I have learned, what I've learned is I'm not nearly as good as processes as I need to be, but it's a great book, and it was given to me by a colleague, Ashley, and so I love it, and it's taught me a lot so far, and I'm only halfway in.
How about you, Eileen?
I just finished High Performance Habits. I do read business books or professional development. So I just finished High Performance Habits, and I'm about to start Blue Ocean Strategy, which was recommended to me by someone. And it's all about how to differentiate yourself from your competitors so that you stand out. So I'm really interested in that. Yeah.
I need to start. I'm writing a business book about networking, and so I need to start reading it, but I don't want to read it because it might taint what I do. But I have one final question. I always end with this question because it's always interesting what people say, and I think it helps the people who view it and listen to it. Let's say, and it could be male or female, is starting. They could be getting out of trade school. They could be getting out of college. They could be getting out of high school and want to start. They want to get started. They want to get their career started. And my mom has always said, if they're bright-eyed and bushy-tailed, they want to get started. What is the advice that you would give to someone who came up to you and asked you, what should I do right now? How should I really focus on getting started? What is the advice you would give to them? And we'll start with you, Eileen.
So is this somebody that is already determined what their
Just someone who comes
focus
up and
is
they want to know, like, what's advice you would give someone going into the business world? Because, when we all start out, we don't know what the hell to expect. You may sit there and go to college, so what is some advice you would give to someone?
So my advice would be twofold. One is always ask a lot of questions. You'll get great answers. And oftentimes, the answer that you get is not where you thought the answer, what it was going to be. So ask a lot of questions. And then the second part of that is listen. I think that, we're bombarded daily with a lot of different information, sometimes at the same time. And it lends itself to the fact that we sometimes don't listen as well as we should. So taking, when someone approaches you and you say you're at a networking event, really concentrating on what that individual is, saying to you, asking the questions, and then listening to what they say, they are going to think far more of you, I believe, when you listen to what they're saying and not just give out the information or whatever that you're talking about. So those are my two pieces.
How about you, Melissa?
Never stop learning. Have a growth mindset. I think you really need to be open to new ideas. Don't think you know it all, especially as a young person. Many of them do. And I really believe a growth mindset will get you far.
And you, Lisa?
Accept the assignment. I think often, and it's kind of a thing, an anomaly between men and women. Men say, yeah, I can do that. And women are like, well, I can only do these 3 things, or I know these things. And that other part of the job, they won't apply because there's a couple tasks on the job description that they don't know how to do. So I always say, just take the assignment, do the stretch. You'll be able to figure it out. You'll be able to make it work. And I've said this multiple times. When I was in college, I had a professor that said, probably the only thing I took from college, always do more than you're paid for, and one day you'll be paid for more than you do. Which means do those extra things. Don't be a minimalist. Take the assignments, help where you can, learn as much as you can. And then at some point in your career, there's a tipping point where you're paid more, not for what you do physically necessarily, but for what's in your brain and what you know and how you are able to execute on that. And so the way to get to that tipping point where you're being paid for your knowledge and not your sweat equity is to accept the assignments and learn and do as much as you can to grow yourself internally in your job.
That's some good advice, people. I want to thank you all for doing the show. How can people get in touch with you? And by the way, people, if you actually sit there, any guys try to hit on any of these women on LinkedIn after they see the show, I will hunt you down and I will just go after you on social media and I'll go, this such and such is a creep. Anyway, how can people get in touch with you and find out more about your business, Melissa?
onepartsocial.com. I'm on LinkedIn and Facebook and Instagram.
Lisa?
Yep. So I'm with the Cooper Foundation, so you can find me through the Cooper Foundation website or Cooper University Healthcare. I'm also on LinkedIn.
Okay. And Eileen?
I am also on LinkedIn, Eileen Kevany. The best way to get in touch with me with regards to an email is Eileen@yourfirst7, the number 7.com.
So people, if you need any of their services, reach out to them. Go to YouTube and look up the Coop Tank and sit there and rate the episodes, like the episodes, subscribe to me. If you want to advertise, the people who watch my show are mostly business people. The people who are on my show are very successful business people. So aren't those the people that you would want to advertise to? So reach out to me at the Coop Tank and yahoo.com. I can do you for 1 week, a month, whatever. Reach out to me because you want to sponsor me. And also, don't forget SuiteRecording, SUITE recording.com. Joe Gangemi produces this show and all the Coop Tank shows. He's a great guy. His company's great, so reach out to him. So I'm Steve Cooper. Please keep listening. Please keep watching, and I will talk to you next week.